Discover new perspectives at radioaustralia.net.au.
Discover Radio Australia.
.net.au.
Well, time to discover some of the issues explored in a documentary film called Between Sky and Ocean.
You know, when I first came here, I always see tuna fish around this area. You know, just by standing on the shore, on the beach, you can see tuna jumping out of the water. I haven't seen that for 5 years. You know what happened? You know, there's a ship over there. That's a fishing vessel. That's the cause of why I haven't seen tuna around here anymore.
And the island is not sinking. The sea levels are not rising.
It's a good idea, I think, to adapt to it. Adapting to climate change and sea level rise here is really difficult in these islands. Where do you go? You know, I mean, the islands are all about 6 or 8 feet above sea level, and you can't go to high ground. I mean, the only high ground is the top of the coconut trees. It's tough to get away.
Between Sky and Ocean is a documentary film about Christmas Island by Dublin-based independent filmmaker Wojciech Hupert. 2 years in the making, and it's now available to be shared freely on YouTube. And it's a very interesting journey to Christmas Island, a raised coral atoll in the Northern Line Islands group, part of the Republic of Kiribati in Micronesia. The first to see the dawn of the new year, the documentary film explores issues of food security, global warming, and the nuclear testing legacy. The United Kingdom and the United States carried out a series of tests there in the 50s and the 60s. Wojciech Hupert is on the line from Dublin. Many thanks for joining us, Wojciech.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Now, from Dublin to Kiribati, oceans apart, what led you there?
Well, it's really looking far into the past to 2010. This is when the idea for the trip occurred between my friends Agnieszka Krause and Nora Niesman. We began to sort of look into this island as the furthest place we can go to from Ireland. And originally, the trip was supposed to be purely about exploration, sort of finding this place on our own, sort of exploring this unknown territory. And as we were looking deeper into this region, we realized there is so many things that we even didn't consider looking into, such as the issue you just listed. And we just began to be so passionate about this place, we decided that it would be worth documenting it on film.
We're very glad you did. There are breathtaking surroundings, thin strips of land and sand, maze of lagoons that we can see from aerial shots. The place is renowned for its fishing resources, which used to be plentiful, but it is no longer the case as big foreign fishing vessels are plundering the ocean and resources are getting depleted. And in fact, in one of the shots we can see actually a big Spanish fishing vessel on the horizon. And the first person you meet is actually commenting on that. That's a local entrepreneur, Simai Kaitao.
Very, very helpful person. He told us the story and we had no idea about anything like this happening. It was great to actually expose this, having this ship. Actually, I think permanently based in this part of the coast. Very important to expose this.
And Simai Kaitawa came in fact to Christmas Island from overcrowded Tarawa with his wife in 1999, and he is commenting on food shortages which affect the community now.
The population of the island has grown dramatically over the years, and most of people came from outside. The viability of food is really limited, and normal diet consists in fish and rice, also in coconut. So it's very limited, very very simple, and it of course affects their health. There isn't enough vitamins to actually sustain health. So it was quite sad to see that there isn't enough. Us as tourists, as that's where we were actually treated on the island, as tourists treated with best sources of food. We were quite surprised by this generosity. All of that was prepared amazingly with great imagination. I really love the cuisine, local cuisine on the island.
And then you catch up with explorer Perry Longton, who is a long-time resident of Christmas Island and who, in fact, married someone from Kiribati, and marine biologist Henry Gently, two long-time expatriates, in fact, who are questioning sea level rise and its impact. And they point out to the fact that in some areas, the sand strips are actually getting larger. So there seems to be a bit of skepticism there about the impact of global warming.
Yeah, that's right. It's really, really shaky subject. I suppose I was trying to leave this question open. There are two contradicting ideas. It is a bit unknown, and I think time will show what the truth holds. I was certainly genuinely concerned about the future of the island. So I'm delighted, and of course, I believe that it's safe, that there is nothing to be worried about.
Nonetheless, water conservation is a big issue on the island and for low-lying atolls in general. And in fact, Henry Gently pointed out to the fact that it's a good idea to think ahead and to adapt.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Then you explore another big issue, which is the nuclear testing legacy. In the 50s and the 60s, the UK and the USA conducted nuclear testing around Christmas Island, and some of in fact, the population was not relocated. I understand some people were put on boat out in the ocean, but those who stayed indeed suffered from radiation sickness and now genetic diseases. And there is a class action underway. Tell us about the stories you heard about this.
There's lots of underreported stories in this regard, and I was quite overwhelmed when people who were actually in the military at the time on the island, there was apparently 6,000 troops based on the island in that time. I've heard from two of them, and they told me their stories. They were quite surprised that any of the locals were relocated. What I've learned on the island was that some people were relocated, some people were not. And it's quite sad, and if there is injustice in politics, in the way how this case was handled, I would be delighted to see the way how this film could start conversation about the subject. And if there was injustice, maybe it would help to find justice there.
Yes, and there are indeed many strands of conversation in this documentary film, Wojciech. Still, for Simai Kaitawa, it is paradise, and the last shots give a sense of peaceful and harmonious community life. And there's a little crime, he says, and everyone knows each other. Did you feel you were leaving paradise when you went away?
General spirit of the island. It was a place in the world that I have never came across before. Very paradise-like, absolutely. Extremely helpful, open people.
What do you hope to achieve with the documentary film, which you are sharing freely on YouTube?
Well, this was really a personal project of our trio, and there was obviously at some point idea to sort of keep it private and show on the screenings and the international festivals. But what occurred during the post-production process, it would be quite important to keep it open, invite people to have the same approach toward whatever they see around, sort of document and tell the story as best as they can. I would truly hope to continue working on this project. I came across a smaller organization of people in Poland. This is where I'm from, in fact. Organization called Anzora is preparing to charity project, and they're planning to send some goods this project is called Poland Helps Poland, because in fact there is a village called Poland on the island. So it's quite...
That's quite amazing. Well, Wojciech, thank you so much for sharing this great journey with us here on Radio Australia and with listeners as well in Kiribati on our FM network. And thank you very, very much for staying up very late to do so.
It was delightful to talk to you. Thanks again for having me.
We're in paradise. Christmas Island, I call this paradise, Christmas Island, you know.
The words of Simai Kaitawa there, and that was Wojciech Hupert, the independent documentary film maker, joining us very, very late from Dublin, an act of bravery indeed. Check out this doco on YouTube if you can. It is really, really interesting. You're listening to Radio Australia.